is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gino Lamont.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Topping our news tonight, President Trump announces emergency use authorization for convalescent plasma treatment of COVID-19. This is how the treatment actually works. Let's take a look. It starts with a donor who has already had the virus. They donate blood, and that blood is then pumped into a machine which separates plasma from the blood. Then the donor's blood gets pumped back into the body, and the plasma can be used on a patient who has COVID-19. But why is plasma so important in fighting the virus?
So plasma is the liquid portion of the blood. That liquid portion contains the natural immunity that someone develops in response to an infection, in this case, COVID-19.
It's important to note, however, this is not a cure for the virus.
This is not the same as an approval, but it's an authorization and allows us to expand the access to this.
Some experts are expressing concern with this treatment, saying more trials are needed to prove its effectiveness.
We asked our local health experts about this treatment. Our local hospitals have been using plasma for some months now, and it is showing some promising results. Our Daytona Everett here joins us now with the very latest. Daytona.
Gino, before President Trump's announcement, you could only be treated by the plasma if you were enrolled in the Mayo Clinic study. Our local hospitals had hundreds of patients enrolled. With the results from them and thousands of other patients across the country, this treatment is becoming a big talker.
Yeah, I think I just need to lay that.
This was the first convalescent plasma donation in the Coachella Valley from a former COVID patient.
This is one way I could say, okay, let me help somehow.
Angela Hoyt tested positive for COVID-19 in March. She then donated her plasma in April. Fast forward to now.
This is a powerful therapy that transfuses very, very strong antibodies from the blood of recovered patients to help treat patients battling a current infection.
President Trump announcing the FDA has issued a temporary emergency use authorization for convalescent plasma. This is dramatically increasing access to the treatment.
I expect the demand to increase.
Dr. Joe Chaffin is the chief medical officer for Lifestream Blood Bank, a collector in the Coachella Valley. They're providing plasma to Eisenhower Health and Desert Regional. Both hospitals are utilizing the treatment as a part of the Mayo Clinic study. This study's findings played a large role in the FDA's decision. But is it too early to deem this treatment fully effective?
You actually cannot say that this product is, as of yet, proven to be effective. The reality is the data is too early for us to say that with certainty.
To get more data means they need more donors. Donors like Matt, who waited on Lifestream's list for weeks to do his part after contracting the virus.
For myself, I will continue to donate as long as possible.
We need those folks to contact us, and we will get them through as quickly as possible, work with them, but we are going to need more of this product.
At some point in the future, Lifestream says they'll need to donate units of plasma that have a higher amount of antibodies versus a lower amount of antibodies. That's coming, but in terms of the general donor requirements, they're still the same as they are right now. For NBC Palm Springs, I'm Daytona Everett.
The World Health Organization weighs in on plasma treatment, saying it's still considered an experimental therapy. WHO doctors say preliminary results showing the therapy might work are still inconclusive. WHO's chief scientist says the studies have been small and provided low-quality evidence.
The clinical trial results are extremely important to know that we've got a clear demonstrated benefit so that we can weigh both of these in considering the final recommendations.
WHO's chief scientist said convalescent plasma therapy has been used in the last century to treat numerous infections and diseases with varying levels of success.
All right, so let's take a look at the COVID-19 numbers for Riverside County and the Coachella Valley. Now, the county, again, doesn't give us any numbers over the weekend, so this is a 3-day count with more than 1,200 new cases reported, 230 from here in the valley. 45 new deaths countywide, 7 in the desert.
Scientists in Hong Kong are reporting the first case of a coronavirus patient who was infected a second time. The patient was first diagnosed with COVID-19 in late March, and about 4.5 months later, he was infected again. Researchers say the strain for the second infection appears to be slightly different than the first. The findings suggest some patients may only have short-lived immunity.
New guidance from the WHO and UNICEF on kids and the use of face masks. They say kids who are at least 12 years old should wear a mask just like an adult would. When it comes to kids between 6 and 11, experts say the decision to use masks should be based on numerous factors like transmission, safety, and impact on learning. And kids ages 5 and younger should not be required to wear those face masks because they require assistance with them and they mess with their face, so it kind of defeats a lot of the whole point of wearing the mask in the first place.
In-person learning could be returning to the Valley. Today is the first day Riverside County schools can apply for a waiver to bring students back to campus. But not all districts are ready. So far, only private schools have applied. Olivia Sandusky joins us live now at Palm Valley School with more. Olivia.
Sarah, Palm Valley applied for that waiver for their lower school. They say they have a smaller student body with a lot of campus space, making them good eligible candidates. Now, today I also spoke with some child care services that have been open throughout the pandemic. They hope some of their health precautions can serve as a model for these schools that are trying to reopen. Students at the Montessori School of the Desert give thanks before lunch. The child care facility is an essential service and never had to move to an online platform.
We reopened on May 4th, and so far we've had the same children come. Nobody's gotten sick. We do have safety procedures and health checks that we do every day.
Staff teaches small, isolated classes and says in-person education has been a benefit to their students.
It's not only just the academics, but the socialization that they're getting as well.
The program's strategy could be a model for other Coachella Valley campuses, as Riverside County allows schools to apply for a waiver to bring back K through 6th grade students. Palm Valley School in Rancho Mirage has already sent in their application, but says if approved, parents can still choose what's best for their family.
It's about options, creating options for those who want to be in person, for those who want to remain at home, or a variation thereof.
The head of the school also says their 40-acre private campus allows them to spread out.
We also have very small classes, which enables us to keep our kids safe and yet have them in person.
All local public school districts, which have a much larger student body, have not yet filled out the waiver. In a statement, the superintendent of Coachella Valley Unified says, at this time, we are still reviewing the waiver process and determining the needs of our district. Our rigorous distance learning model will continue for now. When submitted, each application will be vetted by the county, and Palm Valley staff says their goal is to be prepared.
We recognize that this is very fluid. We have to be small enough and agile enough to respond to increase in numbers or changing mandates from the health officials.
And that waiver comes with a long list of qualifications. Just because an application has been submitted does not mean that it will be approved, but the staff here at Palm Valley expects to hear back about theirs within the next 2 weeks. Reporting live in Rancho Mirage, Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
Palm Springs Pride Parade will take place as a socially distanced car caravan this year. It's set to take place on November 7th. Anyone from the same household can drive together. Costumes and posters are allowed as well. But Palm Springs City Council still has to approve the new coronavirus safety measures for the event to keep moving forward. They're expected to review the plan next month.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
After another warm day out there, we're going to send things over now to Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett for a look at our forecast as we head through the rest of the week. Mike.
Sarah, a lot to talk about. We've got a lot going on in the tropics. We've got a lot going on right here in California. In fact, still a lot of smoke that is blowing literally from the west off towards the northeast, filling Nevada, parts of Utah with smoke, creating those advisories. And unfortunately, as we're going into the evening here, we've got a pair of warnings in place, red flag warnings and fire weather watches. We've got a moist, unstable air mass moving right over top of that area tonight. Has the potential to spark more dry lightning. That was a concern all through the weekend. Looks like that's going to stay in place through Tuesday as well, but some great news at the end of our forecast. I'll tell you about that coming up. In the meantime, we've got some new colors on our map, all having to do with heat. We've got a new round of heat advisories in place. We've got watches and warnings. I'll give you some more details on coming up here in a moment. Here's your high pressure. You can still see that clockwise flow that's basically centered right over top of the Four Corners region right now. That continues to push in some of that monsoonal humidity. It was oppressive this weekend. Got some good news there as well. It looks like that is going to decrease increase as we go into this week and could possibly cut off completely as we go into next weekend. Take a look outside right now. We've got some very impressive storms. In fact, starting earlier this afternoon, you could hear that rumble of thunder coming off of San Jacinto and the Santa Rosas earlier. All of those have matured now. You saw some of those cloud tops come over top of the Coachella Valley and kind of obscured us a little bit. We were blocked from the sunshine. All of that has wound down now. We're going to take a closer look at potential for that coming up in your full forecast. Currently 111 at Palm Springs International. It is warm and it's going to stay that way through Thursday. Light breeze coming in from the north about 4 miles an hour, and humidity 19%, still high but not as bad as it was this weekend. Next 3 days are brought to you by Comfort Air. Here comes the heat. Expanding high pressure will peak us on Wednesday. Looks like we'll get up to about 115, but wait till you see what's coming this weekend. That's the big weather story. I'll tell it to you coming up.
Thank you, Mike. California fire officials say 1.4 million acres have burned. That's an area roughly the size of Delaware. President Trump has signed a presidential disaster declaration allowing more resources and flexibility. 12,000 structures have been destroyed and 7 people are now dead. California is getting help from fire crews from 7 different states now. There are currently 3 major wildfires burning in the Bay Area that together span about 800,000 acres. You can see the details of those massive fires on your screen.
Yeah, and take a look at this. It's video from one of those fires burning in Northern California, the LNU fire crossing a road. You can see the flames dangerously close to a 2-lane highway.
And it now seems firefighters are being targeted by thieves. Santa Cruz officials say someone stole a wallet from a fireground commander's truck and drained his bank account. There's now an online campaign to raise money for that firefighter, but no arrests have been made.
And now in what's already been a very active fire season, CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department has a new fire chief, a man by the name of Bill Weiser. He sat down with our Kitty Alvarado to talk about the department and the challenges that come with this unique position.
CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department has a new chief at the helm, Bill Weiser. As chief, he will lead over 1,300 employees to protect over 3 million citizens in the second largest geographical area in the state, with a budget of more than $350 million.
It's an honor to serve all those people, but it is a big weight. And it's something that I take seriously.
Being CAL FIRE Riverside County Chief is really 2 jobs in one. He's one of 21 unit chiefs for the state, plus the county chief in charge of 21 contract cities and unincorporated areas.
It's an integral, cooperative, regional fire protection. It's probably one of the greatest plans in the nation for firefighting, how we take different communities' resource needs and put them together and to make one really strong fire department.
He's been in the fire service for nearly 4 decades, all of them with CAL FIRE. He started as a seasonal firefighter and rose through the ranks to become chief.
I am lucky that I have come through the ranks.
He's seen big changes in the fire service.
It's become more challenging over the time.
One of those challenges, the pandemic.
And it's been tougher for our men and women that have to deal with COVID and wear a mask and a shield and other things, because we don't have that usual, really genuine human contact we have with people that call us and need us.
And this fire season has also been a challenge. They fought the Apple fire that burned over 33,000 acres, and right now they have over 200 fire personnel fighting the massive wildfires in Northern California. They already have a plan in place for peak fire season here.
We will use our compacts and agreements that we have throughout the state to be able to bring those surge resources to us, like we're providing right now, when we really get our fire season, our Santa Anas. It only happened in October.
But no matter the challenge, he says he and his department are ready to give their best.
When California citizens need us, we serve. That's what we do.
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, coming up next, the Postmaster General back on Capitol Hill today, testifying in front of Congress. And as you can imagine, things got, well, heated from time to time. We'll tell you about that when we come back.
Plus, a new update in the push from the president to get TikTok sold. We'll have the latest with a strange turn of events. Stay with us.
When we welcome our West Coast viewers, full coverage of the double storm threat along the Gulf Coast. Al Roker will have the latest tracks. Also, we'll preview the opening night of the Republican National Convention when we see you back here for NBC Nightly News.
The House of Representatives passed a bill that would give $25 billion in emergency funds to the U.S. Postal Service. This came on a rare Saturday session. The bill also reverses recent operational changes, as delays have made many Americans nervous about getting election ballots in on time.
Postmaster General Louis DeJoy testifies before House Oversight Committee members. Things quickly became contentious today, with committee members questioning policy changes they say have caused critical delays.
In my heart, I'm tempted to ask, after 240 years of patriotic service delivering the mail, how can one person screw this up in just a few weeks? I guess we couldn't find a government worker who could screw it up this fast. It would take them a while.
I would like to agree with you on the heroic efforts of our 650,000 employees across the nation, and the history of the Postal Service for their the 250-year history of serving the American public. And I'm very
Will you
proud,
put the machines back?
I'm very proud to lead the organization. The rest of your accusations are actually
Will you put the high-speed
outrageous.
machines
No,
back?
I will not.
You will not.
Will not.
You will not. Well, there you go.
All right, well, the bill the House passed would reverse many of those changes, but it's unlikely to pass the Senate and unlikely to be signed by the president himself.
Day one of the Republican National Convention kicking off in Charlotte with less than 400 delegates. They're all socially distanced. President Trump has officially secured the Republican nomination. He's scheduled to speak every night at the convention. Tonight's speakers include Tim Scott, the Senate's only black Republican, Donald Trump Jr., and the St. Louis couple who pulled guns on protesters outside their home. Coming up after the break, Mike standing by with a look at that work week forecast. Hey, Mike.
Gino, it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets a lot better. We are tracking excessive heat as we go into this new week, but wait till you see next weekend. It's worth sticking around for. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, here's a live look for you, courtesy of our Agua Caliente Casino Cam. A little bit of camera rock happening tonight, getting that usual diurnal breeze back on track again. That is a sign of change to come, and it's a good one because it means it'll start to clear some of that humidity out of here. We were oppressive this weekend. We'll see what we can do about fixing that. There's some palm trees blowing in the afternoon, just like they are supposed to do. Some pretty nice blue sky out there as well. Just a couple hours ago, that was very gray. There were some showers over top of the Santa Rosas earlier this afternoon. Dropped some beneficial rain in the mountains there. No severe weather warnings came out of that whatsoever. That's our kind of rain. Take a look at the big picture right now. We do have a very powerful low pressure system setting up shop in the Pacific Northwest that's going to do some wonderful stuff for us this weekend. It's going to take 5 days for that to happen. Meanwhile, you can see that high pressure and that clockwise flow around that. That will make a shift further towards the south there, but unfortunately, it's going to warm us as it does that. And we'll take a closer look at the tropics tonight coming up at 6, and Al Roker will have everything you need to know coming up tonight on Nightly News as well. So as we put Futurecast into motion, you can see that flow continues to pull some of that monsoonal moisture in our direction, but not as thick as it was. We had dew points in the 70s this weekend. Yeah, we're going to do better than that, but it will get warm this week. In fact, we are right on the verge of another excessive heat watch that will kick in on Wednesday. It looks like Wednesday and Thursday are going to be pretty warm. Today was warm as well. Heat advisories in place for the Inland Empire, and then they're just jumping out ahead of us. Excessive heat warnings off towards our east, already in place for the Imperial Valley out towards Arizona as well. Temperatures will be well above 110 for about the next 3 or 4 days. Dew point and humidity, again, still high. 55 is what we're looking at on Tuesday. That puts our minimum relative humidity about 25%, but it is trending downward as we go into midweek here. Bounces up to 55 again on Friday, but small potatoes, you'll see why in a moment. 115 is what we did today. It was plenty warm out there. We're nowhere near record territory, but nowhere near the 30-year average for this time of year either. Warm in the overnights, but we're getting it back into the 80s again. None of that 90-degree stuff that we were tracking last week. 77 is the 30-year average for this time of year. 105 currently in 29 Palms. We got 111 in Coachella, 114 still at the airport. Wow. Upper 70s in Big Bear, and currently 93 in Idlewild. There is that lovely diurnal breeze that we did not get last week coming in from the northwest, giving us some ventilation along the I-10 corridor, picking up to about 20-25 miles an hour tonight. Should be fairly pleasant. Temperatures will get back into the double digits relatively early tonight, between about 10 and 11 o'clock. We get ourselves into the low 90s by 2 a.m., and that sets us up for a very similar start to what we saw today. Mid-80s, we'll see dew points that'll ride in the mid-50s tomorrow. Temperatures will be warm, very similar to what we saw today. Look for 114 in Palm Springs, 116 in Indio, and 105 in Joshua Tree. Okay, I've been teasing you. Here it comes. Look at what happens this weekend. Very powerful low pressure moves in towards our north there, takes temperatures down, and look at the timing. 107 on Saturday, 106 on Sunday.
Zoom is back up and running after a brief outage this morning. This affected just about anyone trying to conduct personal and professional business. No Zoom meetings, no webinars, and in some cases, no classes, including here in the Valley. Right now, it's unclear what caused the problem, but they are back up and running.
TikTok is suing the Trump administration. The administration is trying to ban the Chinese-owned app in the U.S., but TikTok says the administration didn't give it a fair chance to defend itself over allegations it poses a national security risk. An executive order from the president gives TikTok until September 20th to address any concerns. And if it doesn't, the app will be banned. And we'll be right back, so stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us here during our 5 o'clock newscast. We'll see you back here at 6 after NBC Nightly News.